There are some inexperienced people that have views of monsters in these games and horror tabletop role-playing games. You know, the scary ones, supposed scary ones. They'll tell you that, hey, if you run into one too many monsters, you become numb to the monster, right? You're no longer scared of that surreal thing. Or, you know, you go into a horror game. It doesn't take long to become numb of the attempts to be scary in that game or to spook you, where you're no longer spooked playing a horror game. Well, I would tell that person if they're having that trouble, or if they view it that way, they are clearly missing out on a major detail when it comes to tabletop role-playing games. And, well, let's get into it. The mood. You know, that's really important. And what creates a mood that makes it easier to scare player characters with monsters, no matter how many they run into? Or how do you set a mood that keeps people in that zone where they can be spooked no matter how many times they have played a horror tabletop role-playing game? Well, what does create that mood? Create the environment where players will still be afraid, you know, of the monsters that they are encountering no matter how many times they've encountered a monster. Or, you know, they're going to be spooked in a horror tabletop role-playing game no matter how many other horror tabletop role-playing game sessions they have played before that moment. Well, it is the relationship between the game master and the players. Look, if you have a game master that is unfeeling, they don't care or not care, they're just the ref, and they'll let your character die. They'll let the cruelty of the game come down on your character's head, and they won't hold back at all. You know, when you realize you have a serious game master, you take the game more serious. Now you are intimidated every time you're running into a monster, no matter how many times you've ran into monsters, because you know how fatal the outcome can be. And this person's not going to hold back on you. And so once you develop that relationship between players and the game master, you can take them from that, you know, I'm scared of every monster to a horror tabletop role-playing game where, you know, it doesn't matter how many times they've encountered it, they'll be worried because they know that game master doesn't hold back. They hear a noise, or if they're told their characters hear a noise, they're worried. What's around that corner? They see a shadow, they're worried. And why are they worried? Because they take the game more serious, because they know there can be a fatal outcome at any time. And the game master will not take it easy on them at all. And that leaves those players on that edge, where you want them to be, so they can be spooked out about what might happen, can be intimidated by monsters, even if they ran into like 100 other monsters before this moment, right? Like, that is what gets you where you want to be. And anyone who has real experience, they understand that. They understand that they have to build up that relationship with players. If you're a game master, you have to build up that relationship with your players so they know you're serious. If not, try to scare them with all these monsters in the horror game, and it probably won't work on a lot of players, especially if they don't take you that serious because you take it easy on them, right? Or if you haven't developed that relationship, like you go straight into a horror game and these players don't know you, right? There's a good chance they won't take your game that serious. It's going to be harder to spook them under those conditions. And if they get a hint that you're taking it easy on them, well, there goes all that right out the door. I would say if you really want to take players into a scary game to scare them, you first have to build up that relationship with them where they take you serious. So test it out. You know, you're going to be making them worry in a regular, say, D&D game about monsters. They're going to be scared of the monsters if they take you serious, right? So once you've developed that, you can take them to any spooky game, and it doesn't matter how many times you do this, they will be spooked. The only people that really don't understand that are people that don't have a lot of experience, and they don't understand that that's what it takes to get players where you want them to be. That relationship between players and the game master. To truly get players to take you serious, to take the game more serious, fatal failure has to be a part of that game. And what is fatal failure? I mean, character death. Like, that has to be able to occur, and you know, to occur without any layers from the game preventing that from happening. Like some of the newer games, it's almost impossible to, you know, lose a character. unless it's a total party kill. And under those conditions, it's usually the game that causes that, not the DM. So again, that not again, but that does not form that relationship. You will not be taken that serious by your players if they're not running into fatal failure. Now, some players can get so turned off by character death, they might leave your game. But for the players that stay, well, you can develop that relationship, and then you can scare them whenever you really want to, right? Like, anytime you throw any hint at something dangerous in the game, it won't matter if it's a D&D game or a horror tabletop role-playing game. Your players will be worried. They'll take that more serious. And you want that if, scaring players or spooking out players is something you're really looking for. That's part of the experience of what you want to do with these games. Well, then, go look for that. If you find games that, don't really allow that fatal failure to happen in any serious way, well, there's a good chance you'll never really form that relationship with your players, right? And personally, that's why I love old school, because especially old school D&D, because character death is a major part of the game, and if it's done right, if you're not, if it's not you versus your players, but you just allow things to happen, you can form that relationship that lets you scare your players in a credible way. Anyway, for now, take care. You know what you can do? You can hit the like button. You can share the video. Oh, and there's another button you can press. That one that lets you subscribe to my channel for more content. Oh yeah, there's that bell thing. You can press that so you know when I've uploaded a new video right away.